everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Much Ado About Nothing. And this week, we're playing a bad deck. Literally, it's a deck from a Magic Online player and also streamer who makes some really sweet brews that goes by the name I Play Bad Decks, who you should definitely check out if you like somewhat competitive but maybe bad janky brews for Modern. And that is Footsteps Hulk combo. We're getting buff with Protean Hulk in Modern. You might remember there was this deck a long time ago that used Protean Hulk with Flash. It was one of the most busted things of all time. It literally lasted like a week in Legacy, and then it got banned because it was just winning on turn one consistently. Well, we are trying to recreate that combo in Modern. We don't have Flash, obviously, which is a good thing because that's super busted, but we're doing it from the graveyard with Footsteps of the Goryo. So Protean Hulk, the trick of this card is it's a 7 mana 6/6, whatever. It's a super buff beast, but when it goes to the graveyard from play, when it dies, we get to tutor 6 mana value worth of creatures from our library into play. So what we want to do is get Hulk on the battlefield and have it die, which makes Footsteps of the Goryo the perfect card in this deck. This Forgotten Reanimation spell that most decks don't play because it reanimates a creature, but then you got to sacrifice it at the end of turn, which is usually pretty useless if you're trying to get back a Grizzlebrand or something that you want to stick around. But with Protean Hulk, this is essentially Flash, but for 1 more mana, and we got to get the Hulk in the graveyard first. But if we can use Footsteps to reanimate Protean Hulk, not only do we get it into play, we also get it to die, which is going to start this ridiculous combo chain of creatures that wins us the game. So of course, for this to work, we got to get Hulk in the graveyard. For this, we have Otherworldly Gaze to just mill some cards, surveil some cards, Faithful Mending to get Hulk from our hand to the graveyard, Unmarked Grave can just tutor it into the graveyard. So let's assume we actually pull this off. We get our Hulk in the graveyard, we reanimate it with our Footsteps of the Goryo or with something else and then sack it to Vizier or it dies, whatever. We get Hulk on the battlefield and it dies. How do we win the game? And bear with me because it gets a little convoluted. We have this weird chain of creatures that we need to tutor up in a pretty specific order, and the end result is going to be lethal for our opponent. So Protean Hulk dies. Number 1, we tutor up Vizier so we have a sack outlet and a body double, which can copy Protean Hulk since it's in the graveyard. So now we got another Protean Hulk and a Vizier to sack it. So we sack the Protean Hulk. Now we get a Karmic Guide and our finisher, Cauldron Familiar. So Karmic Guide comes into play, can reanimate something. We reanimate the Protean Hulk, and then the Cauldron Familiar drains for 1. So keep this in mind. This draining for 1 with Cauldron Familiar are going to be really important to how we win the game. So now we have another Protean Hulk, and we still have our sacrifice outlet. So we can sacrifice the Karmic Guide reanimated copy of Protean Hulk to get Revelark. This is the final piece of the puzzle. Revelark, when it dies, we can reanimate 2 creatures with power 2 or less. So once we get to this point, we've used 3 Protean Hulks to tutor out this pile of creatures. We switch modes. Protean Hulk has done its job. We switch modes and shift into another combo which wins us the game, which involves Revelark, Cauldron Familiar, Karmic Guide, and Body Double. So we have the Revelark, we have the Vizier here. We sack the Revelark to the Vizier here. That lets us reanimate 2 creatures with power 2 or less. So we can get back the Karmic Guide, which has power of 2. Body Double has a power of 0. When Body Double comes into play, we can copy the Revelark that's now in our graveyard. When the Karmic Guide comes into play, we reanimate the Cauldron Familiar to drain our opponent for 1. Now we sacrifice essentially our entire board except for Vizier here. And then we sacrifice the Revelark, which is actually a Body Double, last. When Revelark dies, we do the same thing. We get back the Karmic Guide, which gets back the Cauldron Familiar to drain for 1. We get back the Body Double, which copies the Revelark. And we can just do this as many times as we want to, with the end result being we eventually just drain our opponent out of the game 1 ping at a time with Cauldron Familiar. So that is the Protean Hulk combo. We also have a Reanimator Blackup plan. We can just get an Archon of Cruelty on turn 2 with Persist, and we can also use Persist to get back Protean Hulk. It's a little bit awkward because we really want Protean Hulk to die, but we can get it back and sack it to Vizier here. Hope our opponent is foolish enough to kill it for some reason, but that's our backup plan. Sometimes we just have a turn 2 Archon and that's enough to win. Removal wise, Leyline Binding, our mana base can get it down to 1 mana, plus this hits anything, so it answers Graveyard Hate, which is the best thing in the format against our deck. Both our main plan of comboing with Protean Hulk and our backup plan of reanimating Archon of Cruelty both need the graveyard. So Rest in Pieces and Unlicensed Hearses and Leyline of the Voids, they're all really good against us. Leyline of Binding gets rid of those. Mana Base pretty typical stuff, especially considering our goal is to get the cost of Leyline Binding down to 1 mana, which is why we got the random off-color triomes. Sideboard, a bunch of ways to protect our combo, Fracture Prismatic Ending to get rid of Graveyard Hate. The other thing that's really good against our deck is counter spells that can just stop our reanimation. Teferi, Flusterstorm help us fight through that. Lingering Soul's really good in fair matchups, just makes a bunch of bodies. And Sarah's Emissary, a backup reanimation target. Some decks, like Merfolk, for example, that doesn't really have removal and can only win with creatures, just literally can't beat a Sarah's Emissary. We reanimate it, choose creatures. We and all of our stuff have protection from creatures, and our opponent just can't win the game, and eventually we win at our leisure. And that is Footstep Hulk combo for Modern. That's our Much Brew deck for this week. So let's jump into a Modern League and see how good is the deck. Can we actually play it without punting through the combo and crashing Moto along the way? Is Protean Hulk buff enough to win in a format as strong as Modern? Let's find out. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. Need some Brothers War cards? And snag them from our awesome sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/MTG Goldfish. Much Brew About Nothing time. We are getting buff in Modern this week with some Protean Hulk. Playing some Crash Hulk. I'm calling it Crash Hulk because the amount of clicks that it's going to take to win probably crashes Magic Online, but we'll see. So we want to gaze, hopefully mill something good and persist it. Yeah, Hallowed Fountain untapped. Go. I mean, we can also just reanimate Archon of Cruelty, which kinda busted. Island and passing. Okay, well, let's do some gazing. Graveyard. I think we keep the persist. Untap. Flooded Strand. I mean, we're just gonna reanimate the Protean Hulk and see what happens, or attempt to. They could have Spell Pierce or something. Watery Grave, untapped, and get buff. Protean Hulk, please no Spell Pierce. Keeping the second persist means we have a backup in case this goes wrong. Unfortunately, Protean Hulk is just a 5/5 at the moment. We kind of want it to die. If it dies, we get to win. I don't know how this blue deck is going to kill it, though. I don't know, 5/5 on turn 2. Oh, are they playing Merfolk? So they could have like Brazen Borrowers or whatever. We could also just draw a Sack Outlet. That would win us the game. All right, Silvergill Adapt. Opponent passes. Ooh, Footsteps. Oh, we should have waited. Okay, well, go to combat. Hit you with the Hulk. Yeah, Footsteps reanimates and then kills our Protean Hulk. If I'd known we were going to draw that, we probably would have just waited and tried to go off here. I mean, we get to flashback the gaze. More attempts at milling. We also just have a clock. We have a Protean Hulk clock. Opponent gets and hits us. We drop to 13. No Lord or anything. Tide Shaper. No Kicker. Well, Otherworldly Gaze. Graveyard. We kind of want the land. Yeah, I guess we just go graveyard top. Yeah, let's keep the land. Untap. Go to combat. Smack you with the Hulk. I mean, at this point, we are kind of winning the race-ish. So we can Faithful Mending. I mean, I guess we're mostly hoping for opponent to tap down. Opponent, wow, gonna chump. Interesting. All right, well, Flooded Strand, go. I mean, this is fine. Hex Catcher. Let's crack the Flooded Strand. I guess we need black-red the most. Yeah, get Xander's Lounge. Opponent gets the Hex Catcher. And then we just Leyline Binding to get rid of the Hex Catcher. Untaps. Okay, Minamo. It's in, hits us. Down to 10. Maybe we're losing. Yeah, Merfolk is just not going to kill this Hulk. That's so awkward. Turn 2 Hulk just not good enough. Hex Catcher is actually pretty good against us, too. That can counter our reanimation. Well, let's see what our opponent does. Sevulin and passes. Takes it. Oh, do they have a counter is the question. Unmarked Grave. Grab a Archon. I mean, I guess we're in boring mode here. Persist the Archon. Please, no counter. And opponent scoops it up. All right. That was not the best Protean Hulk we ever saw, but it did plow its way through there. What do we want against Merfolk? The question is, what do they have in their sideboard? That's a real question. What are we trying to fight through? Probably some counters, like Force of Negation, and that might be about it. Maybe a Subtlety. Teferi shuts down instant speed interaction. What's bad? So we can't cut our combo pieces. We can't cut, I mean, we're not cutting the Hulk. Leyline Binding's fine. Actually, we don't really have that much to cut, do we? Can our opponent beat Sarah's Emissary? Probably not. Let's bring in a Sarah's Emissary. Go down an Archon. And maybe a couple prismatic endings and go down like one Viscera Seer and one Footsteps? And you know what? Let's go to one on Markgrave. Let's try it like that. Essentially the same game plan with a little more removal. This is better. What are we putting to the bottom? Yeah, let's just put Swamp to the bottom. We'll see what counters our opponent has, but Unmarkgraved into Persist is not bad. I mean, opponent could also have Graveyard Hate. Island for our opponent, and Ether Vial. Well, Flooded Strand. Yeah, let's just crack it. Xander's Lounge, go. Alright, well, I mean, we'll see what interaction our opponent has. Double Unmarkgrave, double Persist is pretty sweet. Silver Gill Adept reveals a Lord. Godless Shrine, Unmarkgrave. I honestly do not think they can beat a Serra Emissary, can they? Let's take Serra Emissary. I mean, we'll see if we can get it down. We saw Hexcatcher. So we know our opponent, and they definitely could have like a force. But I think if we reanimate this, our opponent just can't win. Opponent, Lord of Atlantis, speeding up the clock, gets and hits us. Down to 14. Play the land. Persist. Opponent, Vials in. Hexcatcher. I mean, our opponent is going to have to sack 2 Merfolk here. Crack the Flooded Strand. Plains. Pay the 1. I mean, this is still kind of okay. It's not ideal, but our opponent's going to have to sack a Lord here. Opponent sack the Lord of Atlantis. Going to keep the Hexcatcher, which makes sense. Well, we'll pass the turn. Opponent. Vial. I mean, that was almost a Wrath. And we get to do it again this next turn. Opponent. Waterlog Grove. How many Merfolk do they have? 3 cards in hand. Opponent gets and hits us. And Vials. Oh, so our opponent can sack their way through again. We draw Watery Grave. Do we go for it? So we do it. Our opponent's going to sack Lord of Atlantis and Hexcatcher. What's our other option? Like Faithful Mending to try to hit an answer? I'll play Polluted Delta. I think we just go for it. Persist, Serra Emissary. Okay, name creature. Doesn't this mean we win? Do they actually have an answer for this? I'm so confused. Because this also gets protection from creatures, so it's not like they can... Yeah, opponent scoops it up. Oh my goodness. I don't know if our opponent knew. I mean, the problem for our opponent is not only does Serra Emissary protect us from creatures, it gives our permanents, our creatures, protection from that card type. So that means they can't just like Merfolk Trickster or whatever, make it lose its abilities and kill us. So, well, okay. No Protean Hulk, but that was pretty sweet. Much brew about nothing time. We are doing some more crash hulking. Yeah, I think we keep. We don't have any real action, but we have a ton of ways of filtering through our deck, which I like. More lands. Well, let's just Polluted Delta go. So we need to find, well, we need to get things in the graveyard, and we also need to find reanimation. Opponent, Arid Mesa. Oh, okay. So we know what our opponent's doing. Indomitable Creativitying. Well, grab an island. Otherworldly Gaze. Graveyard, we have 2 seers, so we can mill 1, right? Graveyard. Actually, you know what? Let's just mill it all. Mill it all. I don't think we need to unmark grave now that we have Hulk in the graveyard. Ooh, footsteps. Okay, we need to play the cat. Yeah, all right, Polluted Delta, crack Polluted Delta. We need to play the cat because then hopefully we get to combo next turn. Yeah, let's take a swamp. Play Cauldron Familiar. This is the funniest Cauldron Familiar deck, but it is our win con. All right, so we actually have the win in hand. The question is, can we resolve it? Wooded Foothills cracks it. I mean, our opponent tapping out here would actually be pretty good for us, I think. Renin 6, okay. Gets back the land. The problem is this deck does play Spell Pierce, which might mean that we don't go for it yet. Yeah, let's go to combat. Let's hit the Ren. I don't think we go for it. I think we wait. I think we actually want our opponent to Indomitable Creativity. That would actually be the best thing for us because then they're tapped down. We can also Faithful Mending. So we'd love our opponent to just like fetch land, Dwarven Mine, Indomitable Creativity, get an Archon, and then we just untap and combo and win. Opponent Arid Mesa. Oh, opponent's gonna play a Patient. Opponent passes. Well, crack the Marsh Flats. Grab a Plains. Not getting Blood Moon this game. Faithful Mending. Discard 2 lands. Actually, let's discard a land and a Faithful Mending. Ooh, another Footsteps. All right, go to combat. Hit the red. I mean, since we drew another Footsteps, I kind of want to go for it. Opponent Dwarven Mine and blocks. Yeah, I mean, I think we just make them have it. Footsteps on the Hulk. There's the Spell Pierce. Play the tap land past the turn. I mean, that's okay. We knew that was a possibility, but we're set up to try again next turn and we can pay for a Spell Pierce. Opponent gets back the land. I mean, hopefully we're good here. What did Foothills? Opponent going to pass. The other issue is they could have Leyline Binding, which would also fizzle our combo. Yeah, the fact that our opponent's just leaving up mana all the time. Play the land. How do we play around a Leyline Binding? Can we play around a Leyline Binding? I mean, we could just go for it. And if they have Leyline Binding, that's a bummer. Yeah, let's wait again. Our opponent leaving up mana all the time is making this super hard. At some point, our opponent's going to go for a creativity. Yeah, let's pass. I'm just not sure how we beat our opponent just leaving up interaction. That is the issue. Cycles their Taurus Proving Grounds. And gets back the land. I mean, we're going to have to do something at some point because this Ren is slowly ticking up towards ultimate. I feel like this matchup to Fairy is actually going to be kind of helpful here to stop this instant speed removal, potentially. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And opponent going to pass. Let's crack the Flooded Strand. Watery Grave, untapped. Faithful Mending. Discard on Burial Rites. Archon of Cruelty. I mean, Reanimating Archon does get around a Leyline a little bit. Graveyard, top. This is pretty good. So we're going to draw the Persist. Now we get to do two things. We persist the Archon. Opponent cracks. If this makes our opponent tap out, then we should be able to win with the Hulk combo. That's the theory anyway. We'll see. Opponent Dwarven Mine. Or are they just getting a token to sack? Okay, Archon resolves. Opponent sacks the Ren. Discards a card. Red, white, blue, green. So opponent 2 mana. Do we go for it? Our opponent getting multiple Archons is pretty bad. This is actually a super tough position. Yeah, I think we just pass. Not gonna go for the combo. Is it ever gonna get better? Yeah, let's just pass. All right, no Leyline Binding. Ooh, does that mean we could have went for it? Or did they just, I mean, I guess if they're getting their own Archons this turn, then using Leyline Binding is not really necessary. That is a possibility. Opponent discards a couple cards. Basically, we're just trying to get our opponent to tap down. Oh no, another Dwarven Mine. All right, so opponent has found every Dwarven Mine. Plays a Teferi. This does tap our opponent out of relevant colors, though. Faithful Mending. Discard and discard. Okay, this is huge. Opponent. I think this means we win now, right? Oh no, they have the Goblin. They have the Goblin to make a treasure. They can give him the mana. I'm going to bounce our Archon. Goes to combat. Hits us. Gets that sneaky treasure. This should still work though, right? Opponent. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Okay, I think this works. Because we can Leyline Binding the treasure, as weird as that sounds. And then our opponents tap down, and then we Hulk them. Then we Protean Hulk them. Okay, so Marsh Flats. We crack Marsh Flats. We get doesn't really matter, Hallowed Fountain untapped. Leyline Binding. To get rid of the treasure token. So now our opponent won't have the colors of mana they need to interact with this. That's the plan anyway, that's the plan. And then we just Hulk them. No blue mana, no white mana. Okay, well, here we go. Footsteps of the Goryo. Get the Protean Hulk. And opponent scoops it up. We did it. Our patience paid off. Opponent didn't make us go through the clicks, which is thank you, opponent. Our patience paid off. I was wondering if we were playing that too slowly and too conservatively, but in the end, we managed to get to the point where we could play around the counters, play around the interaction, and get the Hulk win. So if we had gotten the Hulk, it is deterministically lethal once it dies. If our opponent can't interact with it, it does just straight up win us the game. Opponent's indomitable creativity. What do we want to fight against that? I mean, Teferi protects our combo, similar to our opponents. Flusterstorm? Those are the cards we're most interested in, although Flusterstorm is weak to Teferi. It's a hard deck to sideboard too much. We just have so many combo pieces that we can't really cut. Like, what's even in the possible cut list? I mean, I guess we can trim. That's probably our best bet. Maybe we go like 2 Teferis, go down 1 Leyline Binding, 2 Flusterstorms, trim a Faithful Mending, trim an Unmarked Grave, and maybe the Burial Rites? Yeah, let's just trim and try it like that. Little bit more interaction, little bit more protection for our combo. Probably gonna mulligan. Yeah, 1 land is, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Things are getting worse by the second. This will keep, I guess, although it is not good. Hulk to the bottom, Body Double to the bottom. Yeah, this hand's oh dear, Leyline of the Void. Well, that makes things worse. Well, now our hand doesn't do much of anything. Marsh Flats, go. Teferi can bounce it. Maybe we had to bring in Prismatic Endings. Maybe we shouldn't be trying to stop our opponent's combo. Boy. Did we sideboard improperly? Unwisely, they might even say. Sacred Foundry untapped. And a Wrenn? Oh, this is looking grim. Xander's Lounge. Opponent gets the Wrenn, gets back the land. Well, Godless Shrine tapped. I mean, I guess we have to spend this Otherworldly Gaze to hit a land. I mean, we are on the Mull to 5. We're also on the Mull to 5, but we just can't do much anything with this Leyline out. That's a good sideboard card. Not bad, not bad. Opponent, Bloodstained Maya, gets a tap land. Gets back the Bloodstained Mire. Well, I mean, this hurts, but this hurts so much. Otherworldly Gaze. Well, there are the lands. Unfortunately, we're going to shuffle them away. Oh, put them all on top. Untap. Polluted Delta. Crag Polluted Delta. Island. Teferi? Please don't counter it. No spell pierces. Okay, Teferi resolves. Do we bounce the Leyline? Probably. Bounce the Leyline. The other option is to tick up Teferi. The problem with that is we know they have the fetch land, so they can Indomitable Creativity and just eat the Teferi with an Archon, and then we're in even worse shape. All right, Teferi down. The opponent, Bloodstained Mire. Cracks Bloodstained Mire. Blood Crypt. And replays the Leyline. Another Unmarked Grave. Yeah, I do not know if we can beat this Leyline. Well, let's play Teferi. I mean, that is one of the downsides of Protean Hulk is it is weak to Graveyard Hate. We can't really play the cat because if it dies, we lose our finisher if we do get a chance to combo. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think we have to just take up and hope they don't have it. Not a good place to be. If our opponent Archon's here, I think we scoop because we just don't have a way to, to beat the Leyline and an Archon. We need Teferi to live, bounce the Leyline, proceed to combo off. Ugh, yeah, that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign, Dorvid. Mine probably setting up for Indomitable Creativity. Into Archon, into Concession. Well, we know our opponent's playing Leyline, which is actually kind of interesting. Not all the creativity decks play Leyline. So is our plan to fight our opponent's combo? Maybe we don't Flusterstorm? Or can we cut something else? Maybe we can trim a Viscera Seer. It's a little risky, but trim the Viscera Seer. We definitely need all the Leyline bindings. And now we kind of want some Fractures too. Maybe we go down like a Footsteps. Oh boy, it is hard to find enough room for all these sideboard cards. How do we not lose to Leyline? Bring in a Fracture. So many combo pieces. Maybe go down like an Archon for another Teferi. Oh boy. Okay, now Unmarked Grave or Otherworldly Gaze. For one more Fracture, try it like that. Oh, okay. Hopefully we didn't make the deck too inconsistent. Oh, we can't keep this. This has all the stuff that we want in our library in our hand. Oh, this is also, oh no. Oh dear, these hands. Well, down to 5. Well, 5 it is. We will put a Fracture to the bottom and a Plains to the bottom. No Leyline. That's a tiny bit of good news. Oh, Flooded Strand and go. Tap land. Well, all right, crack the Flooded Strand. Are we gazing this turn? I mean, I guess we should. There is a lot of upside. Yeah, let's Otherworldly Gaze. Well, mill a Fracture, mill an Otherworldly Gaze. Keep the land. Marsh Flats, go. If we manage to just gaze a Hulk here, I think we can win next turn. Opponent, Bloodstained Mire. Passing. Well, Marsh Flats, crack it. Grab a Plains. Otherworldly Gaze. Graveyard. Graveyard. Yeah, graveyard. Mill them all. Play the land and pass the turn. So we can Footsteps an Archon, which isn't the worst, but it's also not gonna win us the game. Opponent cracks a Bloodstain Mire, gets another tap land. Still really hoping for our opponent to tap out. Ooh, opponent missing lands? Good for us though. Well, Marsh Flats crack it. So if we get Xander's Lounge, yeah, I think that's the right choice. Get Xander's Lounge. Otherworldly Gaze. Graveyard. Put on top, put on top. Opponent discarding the hand size. Well, play Polluted Delta, pass the turn. I mean, we're doing this the slow way, but we also mulliganed a ton. Ooh, huge draw for our opponent. Land off the top. Unmarked Grave. Well, we will cast Unmarked Grave. Get the Hulk in the graveyard. I mean, so we are set. We're to the point where if we can ever resolve this Footsteps of the Goryo, we win. Opponent cracks. That is probably going to be easier said than done, but we have gotten to that point at least. Prismari Command, gonna do some looting to try to find lands, and makes a treasure. If our opponent gets greedy, discards a Fable, discards a Leyline Binding. If our opponent gets greedy, maybe this Leyline on the treasure trick can work again. Opponent hand their land drops and passing. I mean, I guess our opponent's just playing for the long game. Well, Polluted Delta, crack it. Spara's Headquarters, full domain. Untap. Marsh Flats, go. Oh, we can't go for it. We can't go for it. We need our opponent to make the first move. They just have too many ways to interact. Was really hoping our opponent would not draw that land. Get the whole mana screw in. Opponent passes. Well, crack the Marsh Flats. Take a... At this point, I don't think it really matters. Yeah, it really doesn't. All right, take a Watery Grave tapped. Untap. Marsh Flats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we play it? Yeah, I think we start waiting. Pass the turn. Finds a land and passes. Persist. All right, well, play the Marsh Flats. This Persist could be pretty good. Do we crack the Marsh Flats? I mean, this is going to make our opponent do things at least. So let's just start with Persist on Archon. Opponent. Hallowed Moonlight. Okay, that's pretty bad for us. Ooh, all right, opponent has come prepared. Well, we will pass the turn. 2 mana, exile the Archon from our graveyard. Our opponent draws a card. Yeah, that was not great. Wow, opponent is definitely prepared for what we're trying to do. Dwarven Mine. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Will we ever actually see Protean Hulk? I mean, I guess we won game 1 with the combo. We just didn't actually see all the actions because our opponent scooped, but that was a Protean Hulk win. Oh, Hallowed Moonlight's such a blowout. Back to passing. Finding it to Fairy would be so helpful. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I'll crack the Marsh Flats. Get a Hallowed Fountain. I mean, this might be the turn that we have to go for it, for better or worse. Do we Leyline Binding the treasure token? They could have Hallowed Moonlight. Hallowed Moonlight and Leyline. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just untap. We draw something relevant. Teferi's still probably the best. Persist. Would have been good if we hadn't lost our Archon forever. Does it get better if we wait? Do we just have to go? We do get blown out by Leyline. Actually, not necessarily, because we have our own Leylines. You know what? I think we gotta try it. It's not gonna get better than this. I mean, this is basically the game. Footsteps on the Hulk. Please not a Hallowed Moonlight. That would be the most brutal. Hopefully they're on the Leyline plan. And I think we can beat the Leyline. Okay, there's a Hulk. That actually worked. We pass the turn. We sack the Hulk. Opponent Leylines. We Leyline. The Leyline. Did we find a way on the multi-5? Is it happening? Wow, this was such a tough match. Opponent Spell Pierces. So they want us to be tapped down. But how do they stop us with just Proving Grounds? I guess we just pay? That doesn't matter though, right? Because Leyline Binding's white. So get rid of the Leyline Binding. And our win con. Okay. Now for the combo, our WinCon's Cauldron Familiar, which doesn't target, Body Double for free, and Viscera Seer. Body Double copies the Hulk. We sack the Hulk. We get Karmic Guide, Cauldron Familiar Karmic Guide reanimates the Hulk. We drain you. Viscera sack the Karmic Guide. Sack the cat. Sack the Hulk. To get Revelark. Sack the Revelark. Get back Body Double Karmic Guide. Body Double copies the Revelark. Karmic Guide gets back the Cauldron Familiar. And we got the GGs, and our opponent scoops it up, and we found a way. Oh, all right. Sorry, I was I was very nervous that we were going to do this combo wrong. You can see where this goes, though. You can see it was trying to make sure we were doing it properly. It's very convoluted. That's the Crash part of this deck, the Crash Hulk. But essentially, the idea is, as you saw there very carefully and slowly, Protean Hulk dies. You get Body Double and Viscera. Body Double copies the Protean Hulk. Viscera is the sack outlet. So then you sack the new Body Double Protean Hulk. That gets the other pieces, Karmic Guide and also the cat to start the draining. And then the last one gets the Revelark. When Revelark dies, you can reanimate 2 creatures with power 2 or less. So that gets back the Body Double, which has 0 power, to copy the Revelark, and also the Karmic Guide to get back the cat. And then you can loop that forever. Then we can just keep doing that again and again and again. Keep getting back the Revelark, keep getting back the Cauldron Familiar, eventually drain our opponent out of the game through the Veil of Summer. Our cat WinCon does not care. And that was, wow, that was a good one. I can't believe we won that game. I think it's because the hair's down. I think that's how we overcame those counters and that interaction. Sweet. Much brew about nothing time. We are mulliganing away this horrible hand, trying to Protean Hulk combo, and do we keep this? We have an unmarked grave, so we can get things in the graveyard. So we have removal spell, graveyard tutor, Hulk. We're gonna try this. We're gonna put the Archon to the bottom. I don't really want to go to 5. This hand's more okay than great. We could use a Faithful Mending would be the best. Do a Valakut. We're gonna have to be quick. Oh, Body Double is the worst draw. All right, Polluted Delta go. Yeah, that's an issue. We need to find a way to get that in the graveyard. Opponent Forest and Explores. Well, crack the Polluted Delta. Xander's Lounge. I don't know if this Leyline's going to do much or not. It could get rid of a Dryad. Like, Dryad of the Ilsen Grove is a concern. Do we even want to unmark grave? We can unmark grave a Protean Hulk, but does that even do anything? The question is, do we want to show our opponent that we're a graveyard deck? Without the Body Double, we can't go infinite, right? This is a ridiculous plan, but I think, wow, this is definitely a ridiculous plan. I think what we do here is unmark grave, Faithful Mending. It doesn't say you gotta search for a creature, it just says not legendary. Yeah, let's take Faithful Mending. That lets us discard the Hulk and the Body Double. And if we manage to find a Footsteps, then we could combo. That's the idea anyway. I mean, not normally what you're gonna target with unmarked grave. That is for sure. That is pretty far down the list of things that you normally target. But you gotta do what you gotta do. You gots to do what you gots to do about it. All right, there's the Dryad. That is a concern. And a land, and another land, and that almost turns on the Valakut. Opponent needs one more land. Explore. Let the bolting begin. I mean, we can answer the Dryad, although we really need to Faithful Mending and get lucky. Passes. Oh, Cauldron Familiar. That's also not great. Well, play the land. Oh, we have too many combo pieces in hand here. Okay, pass the turn. I mean, I think we gotta wait. Oh, drawing the Cauldron Familiar is also not good. Now I don't even know if we can win no matter what we do. How can we possibly win? I mean, we might just be dying to Primeval Titan anyway. Primeval Titan. Oh, so that's gonna get double Valakut, and then we die? Okay, so in that case, I think we just got a Leyline Binding the Dryad. So we don't lose on the spot. Crack the Polluted Delta. Grab a Watery Grave tapped. Yeah, you're go. So opponent gets a Primeval Titan. They don't have any mountains though, so we're not dead yet. That is one of the downsides, I guess, of these new versions of Valakut is, unlike the old school versions that actually just play a bunch of mountains, without a Dryad. Oh, steer, but they have Bojuka Bog. Without a Dryad, they don't turn on Valakut. However, one of the upsides of these new versions is you get to play things like Bojuka Bog. With our Faithful Mending gone, life is incredibly bad, and they get to pick up the Bojuka Bog. We draw Watery Grave. Well, got him. Cauldron Familiar. Take that, opponent. Take that, opponent. Whatever will you do? Yeah, I think we're dead here. Opponent. I mean, we're not literally dead on board. There's Amulet. Actually, are we literally dead on board with Amulet? Can they just double strike Primeval Titan and pump it? Oh yeah, this might be tough. Main deck Graveyard Hate, pretty good. That Bojuka Bog, tutorable Bojuka Bog. Oh, that is not good for what we're trying to do here. Another Primeval Titan. Fair. Good, clean, fair magic. Haste it up. Okay, now, yeah, that's good enough. That is good enough. Well, that was a blowout. Do we have anything that's good against this deck? Sarah Emissary naming land, maybe. Actually, maybe that's not as silly as it sounds. I was joking, but now I'm kind of not joking. Now I actually think that might just be correct. Fracture, I guess, could get a hate card. It also potentially gets a Amulet, which is relevant. All right, go down one Viserys here. We just got a combo kill super quick, I think. We can go down one Archon. Go up a Fracture. Actually, Fracture gets Dryad too. Let's bring in all the Fractures. Go down like one Unmarked Grave. The Unburial Rites. Let's try it like that. Yeah, Fracture actually seems pretty good. Urza Saga, Dryad of the Ilson Grove. Well, we got the Footsteps. We're going to keep this. If we just luck into a Protean Hulk on the top of our deck for this Faithful Mending, we could get him. Forest. Amulet, pretty busted. Let's get a Xander's Lounge. Well, now I guess the question is, well, let's see what we draw. It's the Hulk. That makes our choice much easier. We're going to play a Marsh Flats. I mean, this should just be the turn 3 kill, unless we get brutally unlucky. Pass the turn, Faithful Mending, discard the Hulk, untap, Footsteps. So let our opponent do their thing and just combo kill. Urza Saga. Expedition map. None of this matters though, because we're about to win. Opponent's gonna pass. I mean, maybe they have some sort of interaction that we're not aware of. Well, crack the Marsh Flats, get the Plains. Faithful Mending. Loot away Protean Hulk and Archon of Cruelty. We did mention the possibility of getting unlucky, and I think we did. We drew the Revlark. Can we win without the Revlark? I don't think so. Okay, let's think. Oh no. Okay, let's think about this. We're gonna pull up the deck list. Is there a way we can do it? With Revlark, it's easy. Is there a way to do it without Revlark? Oh, what a horrible draw for us. Wait, can we loop Archons? How do we keep reanimating though? We really need the two. Okay, so we Protean Hulk, body double Viserys, sack the new Protean Hulk, Karmic Guide, Cauldron Familiar, Karmic Guide. I don't think it works. We don't have a win con. Oh, that's so bad. Or people are in the comments yelling at me like, obviously you can win. What are you doing? I'm not seeing it though. I think we need the Revlark, right? So Protean Hulk, body double the Protean. I mean, we can make a big board, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just make a big board and see what happens. Watery Grave, untapped. Get back Protean Hulk. Maybe our opponent just scoops. That would be the best. Because I'm pretty sure we can't go infinite here. Oh, God. All right. Or none of our thinking matters because our opponent has endurance. MH2. Okay, that's pretty bad for us. Our opponent did have to pitch a Primeval Titan, which I guess is a tiny bit upside, but yeah, that's tough. All that thinking was for literally nothing. About it. What do you got about it? Taking up the Urza Saga. Cavern of Souls. Elemental. Passes. Polluted Delta, go. I mean, we can answer a couple of things, which is something. Pass the turn. We are nowhere near winning, though. So I assume our opponent makes a construct? So the opponent makes a construct. This is going to go away. It's going to tutor up an Amulet or a Graveyard Hate spell. Oh, we're so far away now. That endurance got us good. The question is, do we have to kill the Urza Saga? It's going to go away, but maybe just tutoring in another construct means we have to kill it. Yeah, let's blow up the Urza Saga. Crack the Polluted Delta. Untapped. Leyline Binding. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we're slowing our opponent down, which is nice. Opponent gets a construct. down to 2 lands. We are super far away from winning, though. Oh, we were going to have such a good turn. Even if that combo wouldn't have won us the game, it would have at least ended with an Archon and a bunch of other things on the battlefield, which probably would have been enough to win us the game over the course of a couple of turns. Yeah, blowing up the Urza Saga the turn before it's going to sack looks weird, but tutoring up another Amulet's bad. Tutoring up Graveyard Hate is also bad. And they would get another construct out of it. Potentially opponent hits us with a construct. Go Revelark beatdowns. We have reached the Revelark beatdown stage of the game. About it. Gonna crack the map. I assume a bounce land. Beseiju. Okay, Beseiju to get back the Amulet. Oh, they already have the bounce land. All right, so that works out for our opponent. Takes up the Cavern. We draw a Hulk. Not great in hand, not great in hand. Well, Pluto Delta, crack it. Schwamp. Revlark for the beatdowns. Go. Just how we drew it up. We've reached the Dredge player hardcasting Stinkweed Imp stage of our Crash Hulk deck. Revlark is a sweet card. The problem is we know our opponent has the ability to win the game in like 2 or 3 turns. And I don't think we can kill our opponent before that. I guess our hope is find another Faithful Mending, loot away the Hulk, find another Footsteps, Tireless Tracker. So opponent's going to try to play the fair game plan. Also grows the Construct. There's the Valakut, sure, makes a clue, grows a construct, opponent. We need a good draw. We need a very good draw here. Watery Grave. Well, that's not what I would consider a very good draw. We're losing in several ways. Yeah, Watery Grave tapped. Okay, we got enough mana. If we draw Faithful Mending and have the Footsteps of the Goryo on the top of our deck, we could win. That's our hope. That's our hope and dream. Otherwise, we're gonna die pretty quick here. We also know our opponent can get back this Amulet with the Beseiju. Oh, Endurance. We got MH2'd. Although I guess Endurance is probably the least defensive of the Evoke Elementals at this point. Graveyard, I mean, we are trying to do a Degenerate Graveyard combo. I think it's good that there are answers to Degenerate Graveyard combos. Yeah, I don't think we can block because if our opponent exiles us, then the combo is offline again. And our one chance is to combo Persist. All right, pass the turn. When our deck's doing its thing, it's super sweet. When it's not doing its thing, it looks so bad. This is, I think, where we might die. Because our opponent can Beseiju, get back the Amulet, and if they have Titan number 2, then I assume we're just dead. Well, grab the Sparrow's Headquarters. I wonder if there's any argument to playing a second green source in this deck. I mean, having the option to hardcast the Hulk would be something at least. I feel like it'd be worth. Like the cost is not super high. I think we could play like one more Triome or something. Maybe we don't Xander's Lounge, but we play something else that has green. Because next turn we could. I mean, it's a 6/6 for 7, and if our opponent kills it, then they die. It would be sweet to have the option of doing that when things go wrong. A 6/6 looks pretty appealing right about now. We would accept a vanilla 6/6. A Colossal Dreadmaw. We would take a Colossal Dreadmaw. Would actually be great. Opponent makes a clue. They have the Primeval Titan. All right, yeah. I mean, we can let them show up, but that does mean we're dead. With the Amulet, all I got to do is get haste for the Titan, and we die. Revlark does not save us. There's the haste, and we will scoop it up. Oh, well, maybe that's a good thing. We got to see, I mean, we have been seeing the good of the deck, its ability to win. Maybe it's good that we see the blowouts from the Graveyard Hate, and that was certainly one of them. Let's try to avoid those endurances. Sweet. Much brew about nothing time. We are trying to combo off with Protean Hulk, the buffest beast in the multiverse. Playing some Crash Hulk in Modern. I mean, this hand has the pieces that we need to win. Actually, yeah, it does, because we have the Viscera Seer. I mean, this hand might just be the nut draw. We'll see what our opponent's doing and how much interaction they have. Turn 2 Unmarked Grave, turn 3 Persist, plus Viscera Seer. That should let us combo. I mean, worst case, I guess we can Unmarked Grave for, oh boy, okay. It's a color with counters. Oh dear, the interaction. Why do our opponents keep trying to stop us from going infinite? Come on now. Well, that's actually pretty excellent. Now we can Faithful Mending, which is actually just better, I think, than the Unmarked Grave at the moment. Opponent going to crack the Scalding Tarn. Was wondering if we should be Faithful Mending now. Sacred Foundry. Yeah, we're just gonna let it go. Opponent untaps. You would think if the opponent was playing burn. Well, maybe they are playing burn. Okay, that works in our favor. Eidolon. Well, this is all very good news. Godless Shrine. Untapped. All right, so as long as we hit a land here, we should be able to combo Faithful Mending, discard Protean Hulk, Faithful Mending. Hulk time. Hulk smash. Marsh Flats. Crack the Marsh Flats. Get a Plains. We will persist. The Hulk. Take some damage. Viscera down to 14, but now the fun begins. Sack the Hulk. Tutor up. Body double and Cauldron Familiar. Body double copies the Hulk. Drain you. Sack the Cauldron Familiar. Sack the Hulk. Viscera and Karmic Guide. Karmic Guide gets back the Hulk. Sack the Karmic Guide. Sack the Hulk. Did we sack the wrong thing? I don't think this matters, but we might have. All right, sack the Karmic Guide, sack the Hulk. Get the Revlark. Sack the Revlark. Get back Karmic Guide, Body Double. Body Double copies the Revlark. Karmic Guide gets back the Cauldron Familiar. Sack Karmic Guide. An opponent asked if they were dead, and we said yes, and a opponent scooped it up, and we're just gonna keep doing that loop again and again and again. Revlark gets back both things. The Karmic Guide gets back the Revlark. Eventually, we drain our opponent out of the game with the Cauldron Familiar, and that was turn 3. That is as fast as the combo can be. Could it be faster? No, I think that is as fast as our deck can win. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. What do we do against Burn? And that is the question. So opponent probably has some kind of graveyard hate. Prismatic Ending could be fine. We can go down on Burial Rites. Maybe go down one Viscera Seer. Maybe go down one Archon. Go up Prismatic Endings. I guess actually just reanimating Archon's absurd against our opponent's deck, isn't it? You know what? Let's keep the Archon. We could bring in Sarah's Emissary. Although that's not just game over against Burn. Instants and sorceries and creatures are all relevant. Maybe that's good enough. Fracture? Is Fracture worth it? Fracture hits hate cards and Eidolon. But we don't want to take out too many combo pieces. Yeah, let's run it like that. Let's run it like that. A little bit more removal. Run it like that. On to game number 2. Burn on the play. I mean, I think this is a kind of matchup where our deck really shines. Oh, I wish this was in our graveyard. We can do some gazing. We got the persist. I mean, now we're mostly hoping that we mill another Archon. I guess Faithful Mending would also be fine. Opponent, Goblin Guide, combat hits us. Top card, Marsh Flats. All right, down to 18. Well, this is actually amazing for us. Flooded Strand. Oh, this Goblin Guide's gonna ruin our opponent's day. We will pass and discard a Archon of Cruelty to hand size. That Goblin Guide hitting a land gave us enough cards that we get to discard to hand size, and that probably just beats our opponent, unless they have Graveyard Hate or something. I think our opponent just loses because of that. Eidolon, well, Flooded Strand, crack it. Island, Gaze, Graveyard. I mean, I don't think any of this matters, though. We'll keep the Viscera Seer for the future, in case we need the combo, but I think, wow, that is the worst Goblin Guide of all time. Viscera, oh, we could have got a free land, yeah. Kind of an idiot. Too overly excited that we just essentially win here. Persist, the Archon. Make you sack, gain some life, get a 5/5. Goblin Guide down, draw a card. Opponent discards a 1. Well, let's see. Maybe they can kill it. Maybe they can kill it somehow. Opponent, Scalding Tarn cracks it. I mean, if they have to send 2 lightning bolts at our Archon, that's still kind of a win. Sanctifier and Vec. Oh, a little slow. I mean, absurdly good against what we're trying to do. Against the Archon, at least. Lava spikes us, but I think it's just going to be too slow. Opponent passes. There's the Hulk. Well, go to combat. Attack. Got the GG. Yeah, I mean, Burn just can't beat the Archon. No combo necessary. Opponent out of cards. We draw another persist. We actually just have the combo. Wait, our opponent's literally dead? Oh my goodness, they're literally dead. Archon is a oh, I guess they took a bunch of damage from their lands. I was saying, wait, no, our opponent. There's no way. We only attacked with this twice, but Archon is a ridiculous clonk. All right, well, that was pretty good. That was our easiest match by far. That's a winning record. Bear gets a little snack at least. Let's see if we can get the 4-1. Much brew about nothing time. We are Hulk smashing in Modern this week. Cool. We got the Footsteps. This hand really wants a way to get a Hulk in the graveyard. Do we keep this? If we were on the draw, we could try to discard the hand size maybe. So turn 1, Seer. Turn 2, nothing. We just have so much upside with this Footsteps in hand. On the other hand, Archon and Protean Hulk in hand is kind of awkward. Well, this hand's really close, I think. Ooh, there's so much upside, but if we run poorly, we're just gonna do not much. I think we keep it. Worst case, I mean, Seer to Scry. That is a thing it can do. And we have a removal spell, so we're not just gonna instantly die. Yeah, okay, Watery Grave. Untapped. Boom. The Seer getting aggro. Your go about it. Oh, this hand would love a Faithful Mending. Faithful Mending is just, I win essentially. Assuming our opponent doesn't have interaction, but discounting our opponent having interaction, it is essentially just I win. Is it? So probably Murktide. Passes. We draw. Faithful Mending. Oh my god. Okay. That is a Faithful Mending. That's a good draw. That is a really good draw. Get in for 1. Unholy Heat. All right, let's Pluto Delta crack it. We need to do this first so we can scry. So we do need to hit a land. All right, that's land. That works. Please tap out, opponent. Please tap out. Play a Ledger Shredder maybe. So it'd be a good turn to get your Ledger Shredder down. Ragavan. Goes to combat, attacks. They could have Spell Pierce, right? Well, let's Faithful Mending. Discard. I mean, I think we go for it. If we get Spell Pierced, it's super sad, and it's silly monkey power, but opponent steals it on Burial Rites. But I mean, what else are we supposed to do? We draw Xander's Lounge. Well, play the land, and yeah, I mean, show us that Spell Pierce, I guess, if you got it. Protean Hulk. Footsteps. No treasure sacking. Okay, there's the Protean Hulk. So we should be good, right? Protean Hulk sacks itself. So we get Body Double, the Seer. Copy the Hulk. Sack the new Hulk. Karmic Guide. Actually, let's get Revlark, Cauldron Familiar. I think this is better. Drain you. Because one way I think we could lose is being left without a sack outlet. So getting the Revlark should solve that issue. Sack the Revlark. Get back Body Double Seer. Now we have 2 Seer, so now we're definitely good. Body Double copies the Protean Hulk. Seer, sack the Cauldron Familiar. And the Protean Hulk. And now we just go infinite. Protean Hulk gets a Karmic Guide. Karmic Guide gets the Revlark. So convoluted. But this is just game. So now we sack the Karmic Guide. We sack the Revlark. Revlark gets back Karmic Guide. Body Double. Body Double copies the Revlark. Karmic Guide gets back the actually Archon? Archon's better, right? Get back the Archon. Then we sack the Karmic Guide. We let the trigger resolve. Hit you. Drain you. Then we sack the Archon. Then we sack the Revlark. Revlark. Gonna get back Karmic Guide and Body Double. And that should be game. We'll see how long our opponent sits it out. And the answer is not very. And that is a Murktide dying on turn 3 to a Protean Hulk. And that was so good. I don't know why I was so focused on Cauldron Familiar. Obviously, the choice between looping Cauldron Familiar for 1 and looping Archon of Cruelty for 3 and our opponent discarding and us drawing a card, obviously better just to loop the Archon. much less clicks, many fewer clicks involved. Okay, how do we stop the Murktide though? That's the question. How do we stop the Murktide? What are our possible answers? So we've got to be able to beat
counter spells, most likely. That's the biggest problem. We also need to not die to Ragavans and Murktides in Friends. I mean, Teferi seems good. Flusterstorm seems helpful. Prismatic Ending also seems helpful. I have no idea if we can fit all those in our deck. We also need to be aware of Blood Moon potentially and Dress Down, which is another whole thing. Dress Down kind of annoys us. Let's see. So get rid of Flusterstorm. 2 Flusterstorms. We can go down the Unburial Rites. We can probably go 1 Viscera Seer. Go down like 1 Unmarked Grave, 1 Otherworldly Gaze, 1 Faithful. Are we going to cut 1 of everything? Pretend that the rule is you only can play 3 copies of each thing. I actually think Magic might be better that way. 3 copies only is something that really intrigues me. We might have to try to find a way to, maybe we need to do a video or a tournament where the rule is a playset's 3 instead of 4, because I think that could actually be really interesting. I mean, we're going to keep this. We have the Teferi for protection. Ragavan would be super obnoxious here. We don't have an answer to Ragavan, but Teferi's protection, we got double reanimation and the Hulk if we can get it in the graveyard. We do not have a way to stop a Ragavan. Well, okay, Spara's headquarters. Should we pass and discard this to hand size? That might be correct. I think we do. You gotta get the Hulk in the graveyard any way you can, and sometimes that means skipping your first land drop. Opponent considers. Mills a Ragavan. Well, I assume that means our opponent already has Ragavan in hand. If they're milling one, or they're just really desperate for lands, that's also possible. Mills an Archmage's Charm. Oh, did they keep a 1-lander? Wow, they did. Okay. Wow. That changes things. Well, Spara's headquarters go. Opponent kept a 1-lander and is not hitting what they need. Opponent untaps. Oh, they find the land. Okay. Land number 2 off the top for our opponent. Untaps. Well, Marsh Flats. Crack it. Grab a Swamp. Persist the Hulk. See if we can get the counter out of hand. Okay, counter number 1, Flusterstorm. What our opponent doesn't know is we also have the Footsteps of the Goryo in hand. If our opponent taps down here, we do just win next turn. We're actually rooting for our opponent to play a Blood Moon. I guess they could have Force of Negation, but our opponent being like, get him with the Blood Moon would be probably the best thing for us here. Cracks the Scalding Tarn. Who are they tapping out? Are they feeling safe? Gets us Team Vents. Unlicensed Hearse. That is annoying. All right, that's going to slow us down quite a bit. Passes. We draw Flusterstorm. Flooded Strand. Crack Flooded Strand. Grab a Plains. And play Teferi. We could bounce the Hearse. Then we lose Teferi to a Bolt. We could take it up. Then something like Ragavan plus Bolt gets us. I'm really tempted just to bounce it. You know what? I think we do. Yeah, let's just bounce the Hearse. Bounce the Hearse, draw a card. Another Archon. Whew. Pass the turn. Opponent adapts. All right, kills the Teferi. And Mishra's Bauble. And cracks it, takes a peek. These 2 Archons in hand aren't super good for us. I guess eventually we could hard cast them. Passes, draws a card. What do we find? Prismatic Ending. Well, that'll be helpful eventually. Let's play Polluted Delta. Still kind of trying to be able to play around Blood Moon. So what's the worst thing for us now? Actually, probably our opponent just slamming a Murktide. Not sure that we can just beat a 8/8 Island. The Hearse returns. I mean, at some point we can Prismatic Ending that. We might be on the Hardcast Archon plan. It's a ways off, but that might be where we're at. Opponent passes. There's a Hulk. Hallowed Fountain. Actually, do we just need to kill the Hearse now? Probably. All right, play it tapped. Prismatic Ending the Hearse. Opponent's going to exile some stuff. Sure. Pass the turn. So this gives us the upside of drawing like a Faithful Mending. If we draw Faithful Mending, we can try to win. Dash as a Ragavan. Can't do anything about that. Pretty obnoxious. Gets in, hits us with the stupid monkey. Steals. Oh, Otherworldly Gaze. We actually would have liked that. That would have been relatively helpful here. Leyline Binding. Okay, well, at least we can try to Leyline Binding the stupid monkey. Having to spend it on a Ragavan instead of a Murktide's not great, but I don't think we can let our opponent just hit us with Ragavan every turn. Opponent finds a land. Stupid monkey. goes to combat. Actually, do we just have to let this go? What happens if they just untap and play Murktide? There's already one Ragavan in the graveyard. Do we have to just, boy, it hurts so much. Yeah, we're gonna do it. Leyline Binding. We can't, I don't want to lose to the monkey. I'm not sure this is a correct play because if our opponent just plays a Murktide here, it's a really fast clock. All right, opponent's just gonna pass. That's good. Well, polluted Delta. Okay, six mana. That means we're only 2 away from trying to hardcast Archons. How about it? Hitting their land drops now. Oh, there's the Murktide. Well, come on, Leyline Binding number 2. Please, 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 please. Let's crack a polluted Delta. Get a Xander's Lounge. Untap. Teferi would also work. I mean, this is what we were afraid of. Although, our opponent, I think, top-decked it. Yeah, now we're in trouble. The old 2-mana 8/8 flyer, even more musclier than our Protean Hulk, apparently. Oh, and they had another stupid monkey anyway? Oh, jeez. Jeez Louise, opponent hits us for 10. Well, the Leyline and the monkey, I don't even know. It definitely didn't work out. Just repeatedly, oh, there goes our body double. Combo's offline now anyway. Yeah, I guess it's literally draw Leyline to have any chance? Well, we do draw Leyline. Unclear that this actually does enough, though. We're still getting hit by the stupid monkey. Untaps. Well, I mean, Leyline Binding. And yeah, there's the counter. Run it back. We're on the play. We're on the play, which is good. And we've already seen we can combo this deck. Not an easy matchup. This deck's so brutal. The combination of lots of disruption and a really fast clock is, I mean, it's probably the best thing in Magic, right? If you look, it's kind of an interesting question. Maybe this would be a fun video. If you looked at Magic's history, which archetype is best? I would say overall, it's probably tempo style decks that have a fast clock but also are playing counter spells and disruption. Think fairies, think old Delver decks, Murktide. I would say that if you're gonna do a tier list of Magic archetypes over the entire history of the game, those would probably be number 1. So 2 Hulks in hand is bad, but Teferi and Murktide, or Teferi and Footsteps in hand is good. So turn 1 Gaze. Turn 2, hopefully find a Faithful Mending. I mean, none of this stops the Ragavan Snowball. Or does it? I mean, we could gaze into an answer to Ragavan. The 2 Hulks in hand are not good. Yeah, I think we mulligan. Actually, can we keep this? The Faithful Mending is good, but then, boy, we have a handful of combo pieces. So we can put back 1 of them. Yeah, we got a mulligan again. Okay, we will keep Karmic Guide Revlark to the bottom. Not good at all. Polluted Delta go. I mean, we got reanimation. We just got no way to get cards in the graveyard. Opponent untaps. Scalding Tarn. Mishra's Bauble. Cracks it. Oh, maybe we should have kept that first hand. If I had known this is where we were going to end up, I might have just kept the first hand. This hand does have upside. There is upside here. All right, opponent, storm count up to 1,000,000 here on turn 1 or 2. Gonna draw a new hand after playing a bunch of baubles. Sure. I mean, I guess at least the baubles weren't triggering anything. Watery Grave. Oh, Watery Grave go. Our opponent's also shown that they're a dasher with Ragavan, so this Prismatic Ending might not actually have the ability to stop a Ragavan the way our opponent's been playing it. All right, just runs out a Ragavan. Wow, again missing land drops. Okay, well, crack this. Spara's headquarters. Come on, Faithful Mending or some way to get things in the graveyard. We draw a Hulk. Put an end to the Ragavan. Play an island. We have the Hulk in hand. Can we find a way to get to the graveyard? Opponent again kept a 1-lander. Do they get paid off? Yes. Opponents managed to do that twice now. Keep the greedy hand in. Have the magic gods reward them. Karmic Guide. Our deck does have some awkward draws. Oh no, yeah. I mean, this is where it feels like we're losing because our opponent played a 1-drop. That is the power of Ragavan. It's like, oh, they played a 1-drop and I can't deal with it, so I guess the game ends. Opponent considers. This is bad. Well, I mean, we got to see Protean Hulk be decent. It got to do cool things. Opponent Ragavan. But when it comes down to it, not much matches up with the power of of the stupid monkey. All right, so combo offline, body double exiled. So now we literally don't have the option of winning with the combo. That makes things worse. Opponent. Expressive iteration, gonna draw a bunch of cards. Hits a land, plays the land. Well, our opponent's troubles are over at this point as far as mana. Unmarked Grave. But Ragavan, treasures, counters, Unmarked Grave. Opponent has a spell Pias. We also mulled 5. That's worth keeping in mind. We're up against the best deck in the format on the mulled 5. And our opponent's drawn a lot of stupid monkeys. Oh, so what's the wrap up as we're dying to this stupid monkey? What is the TLDR? So we're going to finish. I'm getting ahead of myself. I feel like there's 0% chance that we win from here in this matchup, but that's not really true. It's like 1% or something. So what did we learn? We went 3-2 with the Hulk combo. We got to see the Hulk do sweet things. The combo itself is sweet. It is a really, in licensors, things keep getting worse. Yeah, at this point, we're just gonna scoop. Like, the combo's offline, the graveyard's offline. Opponent has 6 cards. We're getting beaten down by the Ragavan. If the body double wasn't exiled and there was some chance that we just accidentally combo off and win, then we'd have a chance. But with the combo being gone, how could we possibly win? I guess we'd have to draw an answer to the hearse, find a way to get an Archon in the graveyard, find a way to resolve a reanimation spell. Yeah, all right, we won't scoop. We'll just do the wrap up, just like Commander Clash. When someone's comboing off, you do the wrap up. So what do we learn about the deck? The combo's really sweet. It's really cool to see Protean Hulk doing things in 2023. That's not something we've seen recently. The combo, it does work. We got a couple of turn 3 wins with it, and it is a really cool, unique way to win a game. As far as the actual overall power level of the deck, though, I will say, as we've seen, it's disruptible. Graveyard Hate disrupts it, which is kind of a problem. Like, most decks are going to have Graveyard Hate. So that's concern number 1. Opponent's going to draw some more cards. So that's one concern. I would like to see a second green source in the deck. That's something that came up multiple times. Maybe another Trio, maybe an off-color Trio. Maybe we can play the Jund Triome instead of the Xander's Lounge and still get full domain and be able to cast Protean Hulk. Because we actually had a couple of games where being able to hardcast Protean Hulk was actually super relevant, but we just don't have the second green source in the deck. So we don't actually have the ability to hardcast it with this build. So I think I would find a way to get one more green source in the deck just as the backup plan. Speaking of backup plans, that's where the deck kind of suffers. There isn't a super legitimate opponent bolts our face. There isn't a super legitimate backup plan. Is this just Murktide? Yeah. If it's Murktide, then we are literally dead now. All right, yeah. MH2. We do finish with a 3-2 though, which is sweet, which means we get a treasure chest to open. So what would I say about the deck? We started doing the wrap up. What would I say? Well, the combo's sweet. We got to see Protean Hulk go off with the weird, crazy aristocrat loop from the graveyard with body doubles and Revelar Karma Guides. Really sweet to actually see that being successful in 2023. It's been a long time since it's been good. The downside of the deck, as we talked about, is kind of twofold. One is it's very graveyard dependent, but that is the nature of the beast when it comes to a Protean Hulk style deck. The combos that make it work are all graveyard based, so there isn't really a way that we can be playing Protean Hulk combo and not be reliant on the graveyard. So that just comes with the territory. We did see that though a couple of times where our opponent has Graveyard Hate. We got blown out against the Primeval Titan deck by an Endurance. We have answers. Leyline Binding is a really good answer. Prismatic Ending is a really good answer. Teferi helps answer counter spells, which is also relevant, but that's something that's worth keeping in mind. It is very graveyard, very easy to hate on with Graveyard Hate. So that's a concern. The other thing is, our backup plan is kind of non-existent. Our backup plan is reanimating the Archon of Cruelty, but that is also graveyard dependent. So if it comes down to a Leyline of the Void, or we saw in Licensors, or Endurance is especially tough to deal with, when it comes to cards like that, our deck is going to struggle with it. I don't know if there's any way to make that backup plan better, or if it just kind of is what it is, that you hope you dodge the Graveyard Hate, or hope you can find the right answers for the Graveyard Hate and fight through it, because we did finish with a winning record, even with people playing Graveyard Hate, and we were able to maneuver through some of the Graveyard Hate spell in some matchups. So I think the deck is really sweet. As I mentioned before, I don't like the 1 green source. I want to be able to hardcast a Protean Hulk. I know it's not the plan of the deck, but we did have, I think, at least 2 games where if we could have cast Protean Hulk, it would have actually been pretty powerful and maybe swung the game in our favor. So that's something to keep in mind. The cost seems pretty low, so I think we could probably get away with switching up the mana base just slightly to play 1 more Triome or whatever, just so in the off chance that we actually do need to cast Protean Hulk, we could. Otherwise, I don't know. The deck's very nostalgic. I love seeing these old combos come back and be kind of competitive. Counter spells are tough, Graveyard Hate's tough, but even in a hostile meta, we got to see the winning record with Protean Hulk, so pretty good overall. Anyway, let's crack our 1 treasure chest. Sometimes all it takes is 1. It could be a complete set. Come on, Magic Gods. Something big. Nimbus Maze. I wonder if they'll ever bring this land cycle back. I mean, I guess this is very similar to the Buddy lands, almost. Kind of reminiscent of them. Blessed Reversal, gain some life, some play points, not the best treasure chest. Anyway, that's Crash Hulk. We got to see the crashing, we got to see the combos, we also got to see some Graveyard Hate Rekkas. So that's been our Much Ado for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.